We are live. Today it's Friday with Flanagan, and I'm Greg Flanagan, and this is Coach Anna Krueger.
Hey,
Anna, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It's a beautiful Friday. It's 11 o'clock, and every Friday, 11 o'clock, Fridays with Flanagan comes to you live with a guest, with a teaching, with some point of value that you hopefully take away for the week and become prosperous at whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
Anna's with us today, and Anna is, full disclosure, one of my coaches. And I met Anna maybe 3-4 years ago at a dinner, and we happened to sit next to each other. Didn't converse a whole bunch. I don't know if I was scared of her, she was scared of me, or we were both just talking to people across the table. But we were there.
Yeah.
And then she got up on stage the next day, and she talked about strength finders. I found out I'm a big assessment person, and I took the assessments, and then we ran into each other again 1 or 2 times, and finally I said, you got to come and talk to me. You got to come and help me through this whole strength finders. Now, Anna is nationally known for her work in building ISA teams, correct?
Yep.
Started years ago, and from what I know, you have been a school teacher, a recruiter for colleges.
Yep.
Okay, what got you into the real estate world, and share how your growth has happened, and what Strength Finders has in that.
Okay. So never, ever thought I would do business or sales, let alone real estate. But I was a high school teacher, left teaching, not because of I loved teaching. I left the school, as many teachers do, not a lot of the politics and all that stuff. And really went to a temp agency and said, I need a job and I'll do anything. It'll pay more than I made as a teacher. So just any job you got will do. Became a college recruiter. And I hit a ceiling. And part of why I'm sharing that is I know a lot of realtors watch this recording or watch this video with Greg. And there's a lot of really talented salespeople working at colleges as recruiters, and they're not allowed to make commission because the Department of Education. So I hit a ceiling, and there's a whole lot of detail in there. But the short story is I partnered up with a realtor that I met at my church, and he invited me into the interview process. And at first I was like, I'll go because it's networking, but I'm not going to go work for him. Well, obviously I did. I ended up working for him, and about 2 years into that, I began coaching the role. So I've really done inside sales since 2006, started coaching the role in 2015. And really my path since then has been coaching, and using the Strengths Finder tool started around 2017. So I don't know what specifically you want me to share, Greg. But really, I know you said it's kind of like the path to where I am now. It's been really focusing on small things and getting really good at them. So focusing on inside sales, not trying to be the master of everything, but just focus on a few small things and become the best in those areas. And then when the Strengths Finder tool came into my life, it just maximized that and took it to another level, which is why I fell in love with the Strengths Finder tool.
And that's where I was getting to. You were doing a recruiting role. You were a teacher.
Yeah.
And you said you didn't leave teaching, you left the school.
Yes.
Right. And I think what I heard over the years that we've known each other is that your strength is in that teaching. Correct?
Yes.
And the Strength Finders pretty much reset your mindset into that. Is that right?
Yeah. So I knew I loved teaching. And when I would teach, when I would actually be in front of people speaking, whether it be about English, which is what I taught high schoolers, or whether it be sales, or whether it be how strengths work, it is my highest energy zone. And I always knew that. But the truth is, Greg, I felt funny saying it. It felt funny to say, my name is Anna and I love to speak and I love to be on stage. Because I think there was a part of me, and it wasn't the best mindset, but there was a part of me that thought, that sounds kind of arrogant. Like I'm walking around saying I love to speak and give me a microphone and I'm happy. And what I realized when I took the strengths assessment is one of my top strengths is communication. Another one of my top strengths is activator, which inspires people into action, which is great if you love to speak. And I also have maximizer, which loves to help people improve. So when you take someone with high communication, maximizer, activator, it makes complete sense that they would love a stage. And so when I realized that, it partnered with the mindset of it's actually selfish for me to not tell people. And it was a big mindset shift for me from I feel funny telling people what I'm good at and what I love. It could sound a little arrogant to wait, this is how I was created. It's what I'm made to do. And people need to know that. Just like if a heart doctor knows the signs of a heart attack and he sees someone having a heart attack, we would want him to be bold of his knowledge, right? Like, hey, I'm a heart doctor. You need to come with me. I can tell you're having a heart attack.
I can do this, right?
Right. And it would be selfish for him to be like, ooh, I feel kind of bad telling this guy how much I know because I don't want to come across any kind of way. And that analogy helped flip my mindset to it's actually selfish for me to not tell people that I love to speak. And it's selfish for me to not share what I know because that's actually what I'm wired to do. It's what I'm made for.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah. And it really opened up a world once I started being vocal about it.
Did that change? So you identified what you really like to do. You got over your shyness of telling the rest of the world. And in the last 3 to 4 years, you've just boom, it just blew up, correct?
Yeah. It went from, the end of 2015, I launched a program with MAPS. And then within about 3 months, it kept me so busy that it was my full-time thing. And I have full-time been speaking since. So that's really my main income source at this point is speaking at conferences or podcasts or teaching a group class. That's really become my main thing. And I love it. And that's the thing is when people get into their strengths zone, or I like to call it your superpowers, like what are your
superpowers? Right.
Yeah. Like what are your natural superpowers? What are you good at? What happens is your energy goes up. You become more productive. You usually get more done in less time because you're doing it in a way that energizes you. And that's exactly what's happened is I work less hours, but my income has increased. I'm happier. I'm better because I'm actually doing things I'm good at. And that's really where the passion for strengths came from is seeing the difference it made and then wanting to help other people have that.
And I definitely watched this growth over the 4 years because I was like in the background. I've said this to you before that we were meant to talk to each other because we were put in the same place so many different times without knowing that we were going to actually get into this relationship. So from the point of a real estate agent, that's who we focus on here, are real estate agents. Yeah. Where does the strength, the assessment actually, how does that help them? Can you explain that?
Yes. So what is it? So it's an assessment you take. It takes about 30 minutes and you answer a whole bunch of questions that you think, how would they ever figure me out from these seemingly random questions? And then it will produce a report. And what's really cool, I did not know this when I first got into it. There's a report it gives you. If you're listening, write this down. It's called the Insights Guide. And that report, Insights. Okay. Yep. And that report is very customized. I thought like everybody with my strengths got that report. And what I learned is there's only a 1 in 94 million chance that someone else will have your combination of strengths, which is remarkable. So that Insights report is very, very customized to you. So when you read it, I have found in coaching people that usually when I'm reading it or, we're going over it together, if they disagree with something, it's usually a blind spot because it's so natural to them. Like maybe it says you're a great communicator and they're thinking like, I'm not really, I don't know. And then if they talk to their friends and family, they are like, yes, you are. And it's just so natural to them. It was kind of like a blind spot. So that report, when you read it, it's like seeing your internal makeup, your internal gifts, your superpowers in a mirror on that piece of paper. And when you start to understand like, oh yeah, I do love that strength, or oh yeah, I do operate that way, you can then fold that into your business and start having more success and more enjoyment in what you do. So usually people in their strength zone have 600% more enjoyment in their workday They usually increase profitability by about 12%. If you are a leader and you have a strengths-based business, retention usually goes down, or retention usually goes up by 72%. You have 72% less turnover when people in your organization understand strengths. So it's very powerful to get clear on how you're wired and then start approaching your role through that lens.
Wow. I hear every word you're saying, because I took strengths probably 2 years ago, 2.5 years. And I have found that, number one, it does match up with most of the other assessments that I've done.
Yeah.
Except it like you, there was Relator. I think I'm a relator.
Yeah.
I can relate to people, and I can help people move forward.
Yeah.
And that's real important. But
Yeah.
until I actually saw it on paper and read it, I went, wow, this is pretty cool. And on the other side, as you get down into the insight guide list, the lower items were things that it gave me the insight to say, you know what, they're right. And I'm trying to be that. I'm trying to build that weakness up, but I really don't need to, because these other five strengths push me towards the greatness that I like, that I want.
Yeah. Well, and I think it can help too. For example, Greg, you have Relator. I don't. I have Woo. Woo. So let's define it for people that don't know. Woo. What's that? Woo means winning others over, and it's really a social awareness, and it's good at reading your crowd. Greg, with Relator, why don't you tell everyone the gist of what Relator is?
The gist of Relator is that I can relate to other people and bring them comfort and care, and they trust me very quickly. I can build trust very quickly. At least that's the way I understand it.
Yeah. And it thrives on the one-on-one, and really going deep with people is the tendency. So we're both in real estate, right?
Right.
So for people that are still kind of wondering, how does this tie into my business? Well, let's talk about lead generation, right? So someone with Woo, like myself, I love doing things like a buyer class. So I like to lead generate by, let's do a class and fill a room, or maybe a virtual room right now.
Right.
And teach first-time home buyers how the process works. That's how I'll lead generate. And that's energizing, because it's in that Woo strength. I get to read a crowd, winning others over. Whereas Greg, someone with Relator, might say, I much prefer to have one-on-one conversations. It doesn't mean you can't do a buyer class, but it also can mean just realizing I like the one-on-one. That's where I find my most enjoyment. So it can really start to color how you approach lead generation, how you approach leadership. It can give confidence. So Greg, for you, I know your strengths, you have command, which is very much the strength that says, I know what to do. I can guide you. I love that strength. It's comforting to me. You have Relator and command. So I would imagine if you're talking to a buyer or seller, or in a negotiation, you can have that quiet confidence of, I've got command in Relator. I know how to handle this. I'm good with people, and I know what we should do. I'm going to be confident in that. And it can increase, honestly, your results, but also just your enjoyment and confidence in the role.
And as I learn more about that, everything you said right there is correct. I like smaller groups. I like one-on-one people. We can dive a little deeper. We can get deeper into what you need versus what the crowd needs.
Yeah.
I like people that are committed to a goal with me, and we push forward together. That's what I've learned through all this. Now, I've taken disc tests, and I'm a high D and a high I, and C doesn't matter to me. And so for a real estate agent, I think what I'm finding with a real estate agent is we all have our specific strengths, and you can be a real estate agent no matter what strengths you have. It allows you to work within that space.
Yes.
And become better at and look for the people that you do match up with. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And even the thing that I think is cool about strengths, Greg, is we all say there's 10 of us in the room and we are all doing the same activity. Maybe we're calling leads today. What strengths tells us is it's not like you have to have a certain strength to do a certain job. The key to it is how you approach the job might be different, and that's what will bring you success. So for example, if there's 10 of us in the room, I might be doing a group call because I have Woo. You might be doing a one-on-one. But I was coaching an agent recently who had high restorative, which likes to fix things or fix relationships. And he was calling expired leads and just totally down in the dumps, discouraged and hating it. And we had a conversation of how can you use your restorative strength calling expireds? And he was like, they've had a bad experience with realtors. I could fix that. Like I actually could fix the relationship with real estate agents by providing a good experience. It totally changed. He didn't change the activity. He still called the same lead source, but his energy went up. He started setting more appointments. He was a lot more excited. He had a lot more grit because he was viewing it through his restorative strength. And so the activity doesn't change, the way you approach it does, and the way you think about it does. And that's where the power comes from.
Cool. That's the old change the way you look at things.
Yeah.
The things you look at will change. Same job, different outlook, different vision of what you're doing. Well, that's cool. So let me ask you this. How does somebody get involved with the strength finders?
Yeah. So the first thing is, if you've never taken the assessment, take the assessment. Or if you have and you don't remember what they are, you can log in and get your results. They're still there. And by the way, you don't need to retake it over and over. It really doesn't change. That's what we find, is it doesn't change. So what you do is you go to gallupstrengthscenter.com, and I'll type that in for everybody. You go to gallupstrengthscenter.com. And what you can do is take either your top 5, or you can pay a little bit more and unlock all 34. There are 34 strengths altogether. We all have all 34. It's just which ones are high and which ones are low. And if you're new, I recommend just start with your top 5. That will give you so much information to digest. It's a great starting point. If you're listening and you're like, I took this, I know my top 5, I never actually knew what the report could do for me, then I would recommend unlocking 6 through 34. You don't need to retake it. You're basically just paying for how much you see of the report. That's it, how much of it you see. And then I recommend reading your insights guide. That's the one that's really customized. No one else has it. There's only a 1 in 94 million chance someone else will have that report. And then if you want additional help, you can reach out to me. Yeah, there you go, the Strengths Finder 2.0. And then if you want to actually dive deeper into it, I do one-on-one coaching with Strengths Finder. And sometimes that looks like, let's just do one call over your top 5. Sometimes people want a series of calls. It just kind of depends what you want. And you can contact me at strengthscoachanna@gmail.com.
Cool. That's all great information. Let me ask you a question. And this is not an expensive proposition here, folks. Very, very affordable. I've done the whole 34. And I have found value in my bottom 5 just as much as I found in my top 5. Do we find value? How do other people find value in their bottom 5?
Well, I'll ask, if I could ask you, because I think you could probably explain it really well, but what was it about? Because some people see their low stuff and they're like, oh man, I need to get better at that. And that's not the perspective we want. So Greg, what was it about knowing your bottom 5 or bottom however many that gave you freedom?
I'm a very I think the biggest one that sticks out to me, one of my last 5 is empathy. Okay. I mean, real low on the totem pole. Everybody goes, oh, he's a cold-hearted person. We're just the opposite. I'm very warm-hearted. I want to make sure everybody's all right and cared for and everything else. But what I learned from the empathy being so low, it's not a bad heart.
No, it's
the intolerance that you don't want to help yourself. I refuse to push somebody when they don't want to be, when they don't want to push themselves.
Yeah.
So my empathy is very low for that. My intolerance is, I think that released me and said, okay, if they don't want to play the game, I'm not playing the game.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And you can pick up. So the thing with empathy, and the way that strengths define it might be different than some of us are familiar with, because we're used to the dictionary definition.
Yep.
Strengths really defines it as I pick up on the emotion, of people around me. So I actually think it can be great as a coach, Greg. I know that you work with real estate agents, because you're not going to buy into the excuses, and that's actually something I struggle with. I have high empathy. So when someone tells me the story, I have to fight. Ooh, yeah, I can totally
Not
see
too
that.
bad. Oh,
Right. So I actually think having that lower, not picking up an emotion can actually make you a better coach and a better realtor, because your relator strength is what causes you to care so deeply for people.
Right.
But the empathy, the low empathy, is going to allow you to kind of divorce apart the excuse, like
There are no excuses.
picking up on the emotion, because
There are no excuses.
right.
You did it or you didn't.
Yeah. And actually knowing the low stuff is kind of like a release of just, yep, not me. My 3 lowest are discipline, focus, and consistency, which was hilarious when I read it, because it's like, totally. Let me quit trying to be so disciplined. Like every year I set the same goals and then I get really bored really fast because I don't like routine. Discipline is routine. However, high for me is relationships. So I'm high strategic. I have high relationship teams. So what I've learned is if there's something I don't want to do, or I know it's going to be really hard to do, I need accountability, or I need people I'm doing it with. So like just last night, I did a dance workout video with a friend of mine that lives across the country. We did it through Zoom. And I worked out yesterday because I had a partner. If it was just up to me to wake up early and do it on my own, hit or miss, right? It's kind of just freeing to realize, like, yeah, I'm not very disciplined. So let me get people and play to my strengths and not worry about the low stuff.
I totally enjoy the strength finders.
Yeah.
I think it's, as we grow as people, I think it's unlocked another level of my psyche here, and it's helped me push into the coaching business. I think without that, I would still be sitting somewhere in the back, because, as you know, I have a little bit of perfectionism in me, and I get so far, I get it going, I activate it, I push, we get going, and then normally I hand it off to somebody else, or it just dies on the vine. I'm learning a little bit more every day, and I appreciate that from you. Yeah. Anna is my coach. We started out as strength and turned into, hey, just a good ear to listen and push and kick me once in a while and not put up with any excuses, which hopefully I don't have too many of. I got a lot of things to fire.
Well, and I love your strengths as a coach, Greg, because in fact, why don't you tell everyone your top 5?
Oh man, I got to pull them out. Ready? Relator, command, relator, discipline.
I think you have significance as well.
Significance as well. And responsibility, I think.
Yeah, I think that's in your top 10. And if I remember correctly, you have futuristic up there. But what I think of the most with you as a coach, relator, and command, because often people come to coaching, and part of why we're getting into coaching, I have coaches as well. We get into coaching because we realize there's an area of my life, whether it be business, health, financial, personal, that I need support, and I need someone to help me see what to do and guide my mindset. Well, Greg has relator, which means he really cares about individuals deeply, and he wants to get to know you. And then command, I really think of command as that thing that swoops in when everything's kind of chaotic, and they just have this presence of, I know exactly what we need to do. And it's great.
My not to blow my own horn or anything. That's always been one of my weaknesses, by the way. Blow my own horn. The command side of it is, and I never, put it as command, but throughout my life, in times of crisis, I become very calm.
Yeah.
Very, very. I'm looking at all factors, and I think this goes back to, I hate to say it, prison life. Back when I worked inside a prison.
Say some more words, Greg. Prison life. Tell us more.
Prison life. So it's back when, if you had a fight in the yard or fight on a tier, you're talking 200 men out there, and the fight was on the other side of the yard, you would not run to that fight. You learned to sit back and watch everything that was around you, to bring in all this information. And I think that's what I do well. I bring the information together before we move forward. Now, I react quite a bit because I've been there and I've done that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people like that. Instead of more coaching, it's consulting.
Yeah.
So what do I do here? Boom, 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 boom. Here's the rapid fire response. I can do that very easily. That's also, I think, in part of the command. So yeah, I'm learning more about it, and it puts me at ease that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. Well, I think what you just said, it puts you at ease. It's when you know your strengths. What I find is it's a lot of times, especially people that have a high degree of self-awareness, maybe you've been in coaching or if you're watching this, there's an element of you that's already wanting to grow and learn. You may already know certain things about yourself, yet what we often don't realize is that it's special and different. So for example, I've always loved to speak, and people would compliment my speaking. In my head, legitimately, Greg, I would think, it's not that big of a deal. Like, you could do it. You just talk. It was almost like bewildering to me why people would comment on it. And then after taking the strengths assessment, it really built that confidence of, wait, communication is in my top 5 strengths. That actually, I am uniquely good at this, and it's not easy for everyone. And so what I find is if I have a speaking engagement that I'm a little nervous about, the head talk starts of, Anna, you were created to be a communicator. You are naturally better at this than the majority of people because it's your strength. And if everyone could know what their strengths are and have that same type of head talk going on, I'm walking into a negotiation, but wait, I have command. Right? I'm Greg and I have command. I know exactly what we need to do in this chaotic situation. It's like it breathes fresh life into you of, I got this. I'm wired for this. I got this.
100%. And I'll tell you what, if you haven't done it yet, go to the GallupStrengthCenter.com and take that assessment and go for the whole, put your money where your mouth should be and go for the whole shebang. Get all 34 points. If you want it clarified, if you can read the books, contact Anna, strengths coach Anna, and unlock this, because I think every real estate agent needs to know what their strengths are. And I know I got better, and I've known other people that got better also. You don't need a specific set. Like you said, it's 1 in 600 million, 50,000 or whatever.
1 in 94 million. That's
94 million.
So 5 years.
It's like DNA. Nobody's the same. Nobody's the same mix, and that's important too. So, Anna, I appreciate. Any last words for the real estate agents or leaders that are actually watching this?
Yeah, I would just say take the assessment. It's $19 to learn your top 5. It's just under $50 to learn all 34. And when I took it, it was one of those, where has this been my whole life? And just to encourage all of you, since stepping into strengths, I've been able to hire 5 people because I got into my energy zone, which produced more income. The filter of that was more business. I can hire more people. So I just want to leave you with that, not to say, here, I've hired 5 people, but it's more, that's why it's unselfish to figure. It's a responsibility, I believe, to figure out what your strengths are, because 5 people now have a way to support their family by me saying, let me get into my energy zone. And it gives you a filter. People tell me all the time, hey, you should start a company where you hire ISAs for us. Like, we pay you to recruit. That sounds like my worst nightmare. That's not how I'm wired. I will teach you how to do it from a stage, but I'm not going to do it. That's not my strengths. Right. So it gives you a filter of what to say no to, what to say yes to. And the result is more production, typically more profitability. You're a lot happier. And then the result of that is a bigger business. And then those of you that are listening, that maybe you want to apply this outside of real estate, we've seen marriages improve, parent-child relationships get better. So this isn't uniquely a business tool. It's a life tool. In our context, Greg, we've applied it to real estate. Yet in and of itself, it's not actually a business tool. It's a life tool that you can use in every area of your life. So I have people right now, I'm working with a mom who just said, can we get my teen involved in this? Yes, there's an assessment for them too. So I would just encourage all of you, find out what your strengths are, and then don't be shy about claiming them and getting into that strength zone. Excellent.
Any questions for Anna? We got anybody out there with a question? Chat.
Thanks for having me, Greg. You're awesome.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming down, giving us your half hour. Definitely, if you want to talk to Anna, strength coach Anna, right there. The palindrome lady, you can figure it that way.
Yeah, someone called me a palindrome the other day, and I was like, palindrome? And then I looked it up. I'm like, I've never really thought of myself as a palindrome, but yeah.
Palindrome. ANAA, ANA. All right. Well, we thank you for your time. I really do appreciate you. And be prosperous, folks.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Happy Friday.
Thank you.